Okay. And do you have any stories that you could share with us that you witnessed while you were in county jail?
Well, yeah. I mean, the main the I mean, there's always these little stories. You get these little tips and fights, and you watch these little tussles and whatnot, and so forth and so on. But the biggest thing that happened while I was in there was this was a long time ago, people, and none of you guys are going to recall this, but I think it was maybe as a matter of fact, I know it was 2006 because it was the year I lost my case. There was a certain date in the I don't remember what it was. Let's just say for the sake of argument, it was June the 13th at 1:13 p.m. that the all of the Mexicans took off on every black in every prison and every county all over the Los Angeles County Jail. They had coordinated it, and so now I was in a cell with three Mexicans, another, and myself, and one black. And so they didn't do anything to the black guy because I went with the others. They didn't do.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
They left him home because they would have ended up killing him. They left him alone. I guess they felt sorry for him. Like, did we just kill this guy? There's no point in even doing anything to him. And me and the agent that I was with in there, because I went with the others, we didn't have anything to do with it. So they didn't do anything to us. And so he just sat on his bunk and was out of the way. While on every other cell you could hear. Now I can't say every other cell. It could have been every cell for that matter, because I'm on a tier. I'm in a cell, and all the cells are next to each other, and there's walls, so we can't see each other. You've seen those movies where the guy would stick a mirror out through the bars, and he'd look down the tier and see what's going on. That's the only way you're going to be able to see up and down the tier. Now they don't give you mirrors in the county jail, so that didn't happen. So you're not seeing up and down the tier. Now people make these homemade mirrors out of cellophane, and they buff out the cellophane and connect it to like a bottle or something like that, and wrap the cellophane around a bottle, buff out the cellophane, and then you have to hang the bottle up, and you can kind of see. It works for shaving now, but to looking all the way down the tier, it's not that good of a mirror. But the point of the matter is that there were many people that got hurt severely. I mean, bad. I don't know the numbers, but like I said, you have to imagine that on every tier in that county jail, the 5 floors, and for some reason or other they call them 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. Those are what they call the floors. Maybe, like I said, it was because that's how many inmates it happened.
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
I don't know. Is that 60 seconds, or we still got time?
Yeah, no, yeah, we that is the 60 seconds.
If you weren't even going to tell me, bro, I was going to hang up again. Okay,
I
well,
was
anyway,
gonna press the button.
Okay, all right. Well, listen. So, that wouldn't have done anything. The button you would have let me know. Is that what you're going to do? So I know.
I was gonna do this.
Press the button. So
I was gonna do this.
Okay. All right. Well, okay.
Yeah.
That would have worked. That would have worked because I sure didn't hear that the last time. Anyway, so
Yeah.
it's about to hang up, guys. But basically, some people got really hurt, and there was one incident where I was able to look right outside my cell, and I saw it was bad for somebody. We don't need to get into the racial part of it, but it was bad for somebody, and I was like, God, dude, and it happened again.
All right. So this time he was aware that the call was gonna be coming to an end. So he should be calling back in the next few moments. Once he does, then we'll go ahead and continue. And for those of you that are just joining us right now, this is Derrick Snowden. He's located in Centinela State Prison, and he claims his innocence. He says he didn't commit the offense that he's been convicted for. So he's been sitting in I think in county jail since 2000 and I want to say 2006. So it's he's going on his 18th year. Yeah, 18 years. Damn. Ooh. All right, so he's calling back. Let's go.
This call is now being recorded. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Derrick Snowden.
Un individuo encarcelado en de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Tel Link.
Hello, hello.
All right. Okay, so here we go, James. So we left off with it was pretty bad for some people, and you just can imagine that the carnage. I mean, listen to me. Here's how bad it is, people. I want you to imagine that you're already in a cell. Now James was asking earlier what my cell was like. Well, they have downstairs on each level, the downstairs cells, because it's 2 tiers. The downstairs cells house 6 people. They have six beds. 3 bunk beds, and they're connected to the wall with a toilet and a phone connect on the wall. So each cell has a phone. And then upstairs, it's 2 bunk beds with a phone connected to the wall and your toilet, and bars. Now, I don't know how many cells are on how many cells are on a tier, but if I had to guess, I would say somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 cells on a tier. That's a bottom tier, and then there's a top tier. So let's say 40 cells in one section. That's like I said, these floors are numbered 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. Well, I was at 26, 28 when it happened, which is one side is 26. That's they call it unit 26, and the other side is 28. So and there's four tiers, four units in each 26 or 28. Now I think on A section in 2600. In 2600, which is the floor and the 2000 floor, but 2600 is a unit. I was in A section in cell, like, I don't know, let's just say 9. I was maybe 9 cells down away from, where the cops would be. Now the cops can't see into the cell. Their cage is in the front of the unit, and it doesn't. You can't see in the cells. It's not like prison where they can walk a tier and see what's going on. So it's nothing like that. And I said that to say this, guys, that these cells were rocking and there was no one there to come help anyone. Now, I would assume, this is what I don't know for certain, but I would assume that the only place that the cops would have been was in the dorm cells, because on the 5,000 floor, it's like 40-man dorms or maybe 200-man dorms. I've never been in one of those dorms. I've always been downstairs in the cell living. And I would assume that that's where they maybe directed all of their attention, because there's no way that you can't go down the row and be like, well, we're going to help this guy. It was insane, people. And it was bad. I mean, it was really bad. And I'm like, people are dying. You could hear people screaming for their life. And like I said, I don't think the blacks, well, obviously they didn't know. The blacks had no idea what was happening, and like I said, they had coordinated it for whatever reason, something to do with, the rumor was that something happened on the streets with so-and-so and so-and-so, and so they had orders, because all the Mexicans run together. They may be from different gangs, but they're all one now in jail. They're about, they're running together. And this is, remember, we're down south here, so there's northern gangs and southern gangs, but down south it's all southern gangs, and they're all one. Once you come to jail, you may be from a barrio, but that's just where you're from. But now you're a southern gang member, you're a Sureño or whatever you want to call them, and so they were coordinated, and they massacred these people, bro. And then like a couple weeks later, I want to say as a matter of fact, I had already lost my case, and I'm in that unit that I told you where you lose your case. This is where you sit until the prison bus comes to get you, which is still on the 2000 floor. But it happened again, and this time, guys, I was in a cell with 2 blacks and no Mexicans, just me and 2 blacks, and there was nobody on the other bunk. And lo and behold, you wouldn't believe it. This is how shitty this place is. After the thing happened, because there was no other race in my cell other than, like I said, the blacks, and I run with the others. So it's just us in there. No whites, no Mexicans. I'm in a 6-man cell. But what I forgot to mention was that back after that riot had occurred, I guess maybe a couple months earlier. Now that I think about it, it was a few months earlier before I'd even gone to trial. After that riot occurred, they stopped putting that many people in the cell. So the upstairs tier where there's 4 men cells, they only put 2 people in those cells. And the downstairs tier where there were 6 men cells, they only kept 4 people in there. So that's why my cell only had 3 of us in there instead of, the 6 that where the riot happened the first time. So there was no way. But like I was saying, this is how shitty this is. So we're 3 are in the cell, and the riot kicks off again, and we can hear them fighting up and down the tier. But these guys have nobody to fight with. You know what I mean? So they're just like, "Fuck, you all right?" And they're like, "Hell no!" You know what I mean? So anyway, the day after it, if not the next day, the cell door starts to crank open, and instead of anybody getting up to see who's coming in, they just they see, because they don't open the door until you're right in front of it. There's a Mexican standing right in front of the cell door, like he's coming in here, and his homies were like fucking. They were speaking to him in Spanish, you know what I'm saying? But they were like, get ready, And sure enough, as soon as he came in and the cell door wrapped shut, they let him set his bag down, and those 2 guys just got off, and the 3 of them were scrapping, you know what I mean? And they got on a little bit, you know what I mean? And then they stopped, and then that was it. And they were like, "All right, you're cool, bro." And then he threw his stuff up on the top bunk and washed up, and he never had another problem, you know what I mean? But still, what I'm saying is that you have to. I guess you obviously have to house people. People are still coming to jail even though there's riots. So he had to go somewhere. But I mean, you would think that who's in what cells. You may not, you may not have. There's not any. There's no pictures that the cops have, like a picture of who we put in what cell. It's just by name. But I'm sure that they had to know that. Well, shit, we got to put him somewhere. Well, so. This is where the available bunk is at, and But like I said, he didn't have it that bad. He's a gang member, so he's probably used to fighting 1 or 2 guys, here and there. I mean, they're bred for that stuff. I mean, that's for those of you that don't know. I mean, I'm not even really for sure, but I'm not an idiot. I mean, they get jumped into these gangs just for these reasons. Just to see how tough you are. And, to make sure you can handle it, because there may be a time when you're going to get jumped, And so that was just,
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
Is that the 60?
No. That's just letting us know that the calls are being recorded. So we still got about another 6 more minutes before they pull the plug.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hey, okay, cool. So that was like that. Go ahead. I was just going to say that's like the biggest thing that happened while I was in the county jail.
Okay.
Everything else was just normal, everyday stuff.
So let me ask you, when you ultimately lost your case, and you get walked back to the holding cell in the court. At this time, were the sheriffs, after you got found guilty, were they coming in and separating you and chaining you up around the waist, and when they throw you on the bus, were they throwing you into the cages?
No, absolutely not. They were like, it's whether you lost your case, won your case, or whether you're just coming for a continuance or whatever the case is, you're just still another person in the county jail. No difference. The only people that know what's going on with you is the bailiffs. In other words, what I mean by that is like, if you had gone to court and gone to trial and lost your trial, the only people that know that is the bailiff or the people that you tell when you come into the cage. So so the people that I had came to court with that day, they knew that I was here, for the verdict. Because but I came every day because you don't know when the jury's going to come back. So I'm on the bus every day for 4 or 5 days, thinking that this could be the day. So that day I'm sitting in a holding cell, waiting to see if this is going to be the day. And like I said, they said, okay, you need to get dressed because the verdict is being read. So after I lost, I went back to the regular, the cage where everybody else that was, still going to court that day. They asked what happened. I said, well, I got found guilty. And they're like, man, dude, that sucks. And then that was that. And then I went back to the county jail, back to my cell that I was in the county jail, called home to the family. The courtroom was packed when my verdict was read. The TV cameras were there. The reporter. I mean, I turned around and I was like, well, where were you people when I was going to court? Because I don't know if I mentioned this before, but
Yeah.
I think I did in an earlier podcast. But if you're testifying on somebody's behalf, whether you're testifying for the DA or whether you're testifying for the plaintiff, which was me, or the defendant, which was me, you can't sit in the courtroom until you've testified. And I don't even know if you're allowed to sit in the courtroom after that. You're not allowed to be in the courtroom. So every one of my family members was testifying on my behalf. So nobody was in the courtroom for me while I was going through trial. And very few people were there for the Forrest family, because once again, this case occurred in '92, but I didn't go to trial for it until 2006. So I don't want to say they had lives and they were doing other things, because I really don't know. But until I lost my case, no one was really there. Now I could be mistaken. There could have been people behind me, but there was no one there for me. I can tell you that there was no one there for me, because every person, and I don't know if the DA planned it like that or not. I mean, the DA doesn't know who you got coming to court. They know that you have, and they know they want to interview every one of your family members on stand. That if you want them to testify, then they want to hear from them. And if you don't want to hear from them, they want to put them on the stand. Because, like I said, remember I told you, the DA meticulously went to Vegas and spoke to every single one of my family members that they thought may have anything to say with it. So, and if he thought that they had something beneficial that was going to benefit what they were trying to say, or to clap back on something that I had said to debunk it, or whatever they thought was going to help their case, they had them come down there and testify. So they're, and once again, all my family lives in Vegas except for my mother and my sister. So, so when they came down, they came down to testify, and then they went back. Now, when I lost my case and I came in the courtroom, it was packed. And I'm like I said, who are they? Who are we? But my whole family was there then, because obviously they had been waiting for the verdict. So my whole family was there with family, friends, and so forth and so on. And they, remember, these court trials, they occur during the middle of the day. And if you're not married with kids, I mean, there's really, or you've got a gang of friends that don't have anything better to do, they don't need to go to work, so they can come spend every day in court and sit behind you. There's not going to be anybody there for you. I would assume if you're married, your wife is going to be like, I'm not coming to work, and my husband's on trial, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm not married, and I don't have any kids, so there wasn't any of that. And the girl I was dating with, I broke up with her a few weeks before I ever even got arrested. So, and it wasn't really that serious anyway. We'd only been dating for a few months, so it wasn't really like she was going to be there. So there was no one, and so once I lost and there was everyone there, I was shocked. And then, they asked me for a statement, and I stood up and I said, I just want to let you know that I had nothing to do with these people. We're not supposed to say the M word, but I had nothing to do with these 187s. I did not, KIO these people. So that was that, and then I was sentenced, later on, and sentencing, as a matter of fact, I think it was at sentencing when I was able to get the statement, and that was when it was packed out. Because when I was found, but when the verdict was read too, I remember them. I want to say it was packed then, but I know it was packed when I went for sentencing. When they gave me my time, that's when I know for a fact it was packed. And I know that there were people there when the verdict was read, because like I said, it was a big story in my neighborhood. Like I said, like I live in one of the few gated communities in Cerritos. You know what I mean? Big crime doesn't happen around there. There was an old cold case. These detectives just, sort of, I guess, you would say, finally solved the case, so to speak. I had friends tell me after I'd gotten arrested, they wrote me and they were like, dude, your case was on 48 hours, or what are those cases called when they don't know who did it? Mysteries, something.
Unsolved mysteries?
And they were talking about it. Yeah, unsolved mysteries. Your case has been on unsolved mysteries, bro. While you were living in Vegas, dude, we never told you because you weren't around, but, and I'm like...
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
So that's the 60-second mark.
That's the 60-second. Okay, well, let me know when we got 10 seconds, and I'll call back. But, so that's that.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
We got hit with a double whammy right now.
Sad feeling to Yeah, it's a sad feeling to look behind you and not see anybody there for you. But like I said, people have lives, bro. I mean, you can't, you're not going to be able to take off. My trial was 26 days, guys. 26 days I went to court. Like I was OJ or something. Days and days and days. And I'm like, the DA is bringing experts in to testify to this, that, and the other. None of them had anything to say about me. They just wanted to testify.
All right, so call back because it's about to cut off.
It's going to hang up.
Yeah.
All right, I'll call you right back.
All right, cool. Thank you. All right, so I see that comment that was the last comment that was put on the YouTube side. I can't read your name because you have some different characters in your name, but I will read off that question to him or that comment to him right now when he calls back. And lovely Sunshine 8, really appreciate the love and support over here on the TikTok side. Appreciate the corazones, appreciate the hearts, and let me see who else has anybody else been giving us any little hearts and whatnot. I think lovely Sunshine is the one that's been lovely Sunshine and Shattered 272. Really appreciate it. So right now the call came to an end. Our 15 minutes were up, so he should be calling back in the next few moments. Once he does, then we'll go ahead and continue. And like I said, I'll go ahead and read off this comment over here on the YouTube side of the stream. I did see that on the court paperwork right there, as far as the usage of those illicit substances and the burglary. And I'll go ahead and read that off to him right now when he calls back, which shouldn't be much longer. Normally they could call back relatively quickly. Has he ever been to Chuck E. Cheese restaurant before? Man, all right. I think everybody's been to Chuck E. Cheese. Yeah, that is true. Yeah. That's the Porras testified, which led him going to youth authority. That is correct. So yeah, did you read the court paperwork, or did you read the newspaper?
This call is now being recorded.
Global Telling. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Derrick Snowden.
un individuo encarcelado en de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Telling.
Hello.
All right, James. Yes, sir.
All right. So right now, when you were speaking earlier on, we have a few comments and
Sure.
a few comments and one question. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and read it off. Unfortunately, I can't read off the name of the person that wrote this comment because it has some weird characters in it. So I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that. I'll just say no. All right, because it has an N and a bunch of O's and a C at the end. All right, so Derrick Snowden has a history of I'll say Krizak, if you catch my drift, and illegal substances addiction and burglary. He also had a reason to resent Porras. So that's the comment that they put. I guess they probably either read the paper. They read the paperwork or the court or the LA Times article.
Absolutely. Okay, so that's just a comment. Well, I mean, I could comment on that, and that's true. Yeah, absolutely. I do have a history of substance abuse use, and I do have a history of selling, crack, as they put it. Yeah, that's all of that is absolutely true. If you do, I have a reason to resent Mrs. Porras. Well, I mean, I would have a reason to resent her. I mean, I didn't. I mean, like I said, any crime that I'd done as a child, I mean, I knew I did it, So, but yeah, but would I have had a reason to resent her? I would have had a reason to resent her. Did I resent her? Absolutely not. Did the crime in question occur at 5 or 7 years after that she ever testified as a juvenile against me? Yes. So I sat around for 7 or 8 years harboring this resentment, and then when I'm 23 or 24 years old, this is when I decide to act on this resentment. But once again, that's not what they said. They were just commenting on what they said, and that's the truth.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
I certainly did have a reason to resent her. It wasn't a legit reason because she didn't do anything other than tell the truth. So but I didn't resent her. So and they didn't say that I did resent her. They said I had a reason, and I did, but I didn't resent her. And like I said, the substance abuse thing, I haven't shied away from that. I mean, if you haven't heard the earlier podcast, we spoke about that, and like I said, I've been down for this long. There's nothing to lie about. I mean, it's not going to change my situation. It's not going to change my outcome. I'm sharing my story because I'm innocent, and there may be someone out there that may look through it and say, like, okay, well, look, I do see all of these things that went against you, that weren't in your favor, that probably helped to sway the jury, but none of those things, proves I'm a 187er. I mean, you understand what I'm saying? I mean, but that's one man's opinion or one person's opinion, and that's the truth. Yeah, I'm not going to deny any of that.
And then, also the same commenter put Porras testified, which led him going to youth authority. The court, the court paper also said that they had no physical evidence, though. So yeah, that's another thing.
Well, they're right. They didn't have any physical evidence, not for what Mrs. Porras testified to. They absolutely had physical evidence for that, but I don't think that's what they're talking about. They're talking about no physical evidence for the crime that I'm incarcerated for now. Yes, and there is no physical evidence because I wasn't there and I didn't have anything to do with it. And that's the whole reason why I'm sharing my story. We didn't have these. I didn't have these luxuries when I got arrested. I mean, and if they were out there, they weren't afforded to me, but. James came into my life, and through some other people who happen to be in my building here, who are doing podcasts with him that I speak to every day. And these guys are killers. I mean, they'll tell you right up that they're absolutely in here for the murders that they did, and they're fighting to get their lives back because they've changed. They're not the same person that got arrested for their various crimes, and they know me, and and that doesn't mean anything to you guys because you don't know them. Or me, but they know me, and they're like, well, look at I don't know exactly what David said on the podcast previously, but he's spoken about the fact that look at I've read through this guy's case, and I don't know one way or the other, but but there's certainly not enough in what I'm reading to convict someone and put them away for the rest of their lives for a crime that they didn't commit. Whether he committed it or not, he couldn't say because no one knows the truth other than God and the killer, and myself, obviously, but what we do know is that what they use to convict me, it's completely circumstantial. There's no physical evidence. There's no forensics. There's no eyewitnesses. There's no nothing. Everything that I just mentioned, all of those things point to the actual killer, which we already just discussed who it is. I don't need to keep putting her name out there because it is what it is. But yeah, and she's gotten away with murder, and here I sit. So what you were saying, that there's other comments and questions?
Yeah, so the same commenter put, did your sister do it? I think that paper implies there was evidence for that, but she could not be convicted.
Yeah, and that's exactly correct. She couldn't be convicted of it, and so whether she did or she didn't do it, it doesn't matter because I'm the one serving the time for it. You know what I mean? I've talked with my family about, look, I'm not trying to place blame anymore. It's not about trying to exchange one person's life for the next because clearly my family's not willing to do that because by now they all have to know the exact truth. It's been 20 years, people, and my family are not idiots. They're executives. They're people, and they're all professionals. You know what I mean? So basically, what I'm saying is that it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out. Okay, well, look at what. He didn't do it, and who did do it? But the fact of the matter is that person didn't get tried or convicted. I did, And so we're not going to exchange one person's life for the other. We're just going to fight to try to get you back out. And and I can't say I wouldn't expect him to do that, but I'll tell you this though, and this is just my personal my personal opinion on the matter. If I had two kids and one was being tried for a crime that the other one committed, and I knew the other one committed it, oh, you better believe that the other one the one that did it is going to jail. I don't give a crap which one they're both my kids. But once again, this was back, when I went to trial, and who's to say that, that like I said, that my sister, what she had told my cousins who testified on the stand, that she said she did it, who's to say that she wasn't lying when she did it? And I'm sure that that's exactly what my family wanted to believe. There's no way she did it. She was lying to them. She made the whole story up. Well, hey, look, I didn't do it. And it wasn't, somebody in that house did it. So we know it wasn't my mom. She was at work and could prove it. And that's what it all comes down to. It's all about accountability, bro. It's about being able to prove where you were and not being somewhere else and not being able to prove it. And so, but yeah, so that's that. But any other questions or comments?
Yeah, so we have a question from Lovely Sunshine on TikTok. She writes, does he forgive his sister?
You know what? I had to forgive her. For the first, I don't know how X amount of years, I was trying to figure out how to, because my family's not going to help. How am I going to get me out of this because we know she did it? How do I prove that she did it because nobody's going to help me prove this? And I ran through it, and there isn't any other way. I mean, unless somebody else was, somebody that she told that. That could prove that she did it, because you could, she could have told 1,000 people, but even if they came forward, unless they could prove that she did it, then it's just, they could just say that, well, just like my cousins testified that she said she did it, she could have been lying then too. So, yeah, so I had to forgive her. I had to forgive her because I realized that, look, I'm going to be spending the rest of my life in here unless the courts, or unless the parole board finds me suitable for parole. And initially, there wasn't any of that. It was life without the possibility of parole. I was never even going to see the board. Well, the laws are changing here in California. Gavin Newsom, who is our governor, is an awesome governor, and he realizes that the model that we have here for the prison, it's not working. There's got to be a better way, and he's looking into other various ways of changing the prison system. And they've got a model that's going on in Norway or the Netherlands or somewhere, where he has found that is exactly what he wants to do here. Now, it's going to take a lot of work, and unless the next governor after him is on the same page as him, it's probably never going to get done, because I don't think he can get all of that done in his terms. But he is all about rehabilitation, and other governors have been as well. But and reform, rehabilitation, and not just incarceration. So. I say that because now the California Department of Corrections now has an R at the end of it. It's California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. It didn't have that before, and what they're saying now is that, look, if you could prove.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
That you're no longer a threat to society or yourself or any other person, and that you could be productive, then why are we keeping you? If you've served X amount of time, if you can give us enough years for us to be able to go before the governor and say, like, look, at the guy, you gave the guy X amount of 5,000 years or whatever. Well, he's done 40 of them. He's got a couple degrees under his belt. He's been in model prison for the last 20 years. Let the governor, the board will grant you parole, and let the governor deny him. And so far, Gavin Newsom has, he's gone through, the cases individually, because I don't think he lets any. We're talking about releasing a convicted felon back onto the streets who had life in prison or life without the possibility of parole in prison. So he's not taking this lightly. And if he sees that what the board is seeing, then he's absolutely letting these people go. And some of them, he sees what the board is seeing, and he's saying, like, well, I'm still not ready to let him go, and they're not getting out. And but they get to come back a couple of years later and try it again, and he may look at it and say, like, all right, well, now I feel a little more comfortable with it. And so we'll see what happens. So do I forgive my sister? I have to. I have to, because I have to get on with my life. that guilt would just, or resentment, it's the wrong word I would say resentment. That resentment would just eat away at me. And so I have to let it go. Yes, I've forgiven her. And in an earlier podcast, I had mentioned that I hadn't spoken to her in over 20 years. I hadn't spoken to her since the Christmas that I got arrested in 2003 when I called home, until just maybe two months ago, maybe a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, where I had called on a whim to speak to my mom, and she had my mother's cell phone, and so we talked for a couple seconds, but it certainly wasn't about anything to do with the case or anything. It was about what was going on with our mother, and I told her I love her, and she said I love you too, and then that was it, and I haven't spoken to her since, and don't plan on speaking to her again either. I have her phone number, but I don't call it because she's a millennial, so she doesn't pick up her phone. She probably only responds to text, and she's not on my text chain. So, and plus we have really nothing to say to each other. Like I said, I don't want to harp on it, but we both could have walked out of that courtroom scot-free. Her as a murderer, and me as an innocent man who didn't have anything to do with the crime. But she decided that her life was worth more than mine, and telling the truth, whether they weren't going to charge her or not, was something that was not on the plate for her. And so, fuck him, excuse my language. Let him fend for himself. And so here I am. But yeah, I mean, I know you can hear it in my voice that that I'm still bitter. But but bitter and forgiving. I'll probably be bitter for a long time. I'll probably be bitter if I ever get out. But I can't hold that against anyone. The time has been served. And life goes on. You know what I mean? Life is not fair. If it was fair, all of us would be rich, and none of us would be poor. There'd be no war. There'd be no crime. There'd be no death. But all of these things exist. So, anyway, anything else?
I do. I got one for you.
I got one for you.
This is from let me see here, from Nace Oil 888. Please ask him if he's ever been and likes Chuck E. Cheese. This is very important to me.
Have I ever been to Chuck E. Cheese, or do I like Chuck E. Cheese? Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me tell you, no. I'm going to be honest with you, bro. I've never been to Chuck E. Cheese, bro. I think Chuck E. Cheese didn't even really get popular until I was already old enough to not be going to Chuck E. Cheese, for birthday parties. Oh, wait a minute. I take that back, bro. Excuse me. There was a birthday party in my church. I think one of my pastor's kids, he had a birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese. And yes, I have been to Chuck E. Cheese.
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
All right, and that's the 1 minute mark.
Okay, yeah, so I have been to Chuck E. Cheese, and the pizza was great, and I didn't play any of the games. I was a grown man. I think I was in my 30s when I went. But yeah, so that answers his question.
All right. So right now it's about to cut off. If you could go ahead and give us a call back, and we'll go ahead and continue.
Okay, all right. I'll give you one more shot back. All right.
All right, cool. Thank you. All right. So for anybody that's watching, other case information that I was able to locate on Google, I've attached it to the description of this video. It includes, I believe, 2 LA Time articles, and it also includes an appeal, I believe, that was denied through the court of LA or Los Angeles County. And you're more than welcome to read through that paperwork, and if you see anything in there that you want me to ask him about, I'll be more than happy to read up those questions in the chat, whether you're on the TikTok side or on the YouTube side. And there it is.
This call is now being recorded.
Es Global Telling. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Derrick Snowden.
un individuo encarcelado de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Gracias por utilizar Global Telling.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
So
good, bro.
So earlier on when you were mentioning about going to court, and you went to court for 20 some odd days,
yeah.
When you go to court, can you just kind of describe or paint a picture, what the process is? Because it's just not you wake up at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then you go to court. They wake you up at what, 3 a.m., and then they take you to the
Yeah.
bullpen, and then depending on what part of the county you're going to be going to, jump on that bus. It's a very tiring
Hmm.
experience. Especially I couldn't even
Absolutely.
imagine going to court for 3-4 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, so would you mind sharing some of that with our audience?
Sure. Sure, that's not a problem. Okay, so there's a couple ways it could be done. Now, one way is that you're coming back to the cell that you're in when they call you for court, and you trust the people in your cell. And when I say that, because you could go to court and leave your stuff in your cell and come back, and all of those people in your cell have been transferred, and their stuff is sitting there with some new people, or your stuff is gone. Now, so that's one way. So now, talking about how it works, you're going to wake up about I want to say 3:30, 4 o'clock. They're going to come by and be like, you're going to court, and you got 15 minutes to get ready. So you get up, you get ready for court. You try to look your best. You know what I mean. You wash up, you take a bird bath if you have time really quick, and then you either pack up your stuff because you don't know what's going to happen after court, or you leave your stuff and you tell the guys in there looking at, "You guys, watch my stuff," and then you leave out of the cell. You're out of the cell about 4 o'clock in the morning, and you are walking through the county jail, being escorted, obviously, by the sheriffs to these holding pens. And these holding pens are basically open-air cells where you can see from one cell to the next cell, across and next door, and they're different. Each one of those pods are going to a different courtroom. Now, the LA County is a pretty big county, and it has courtrooms all over, from Bel Air to Beverly Hills to Norwalk to Lakewood. All of these places have superior court buildings or various court buildings, and so you're going to go into the cage where you're going to court. So, and what I mean when I say that is you're going to come by and you're going to tell them, "Hey, I don't know where I'm going." They're going to be, "What's your name?" You tell them your name, and they're going to be, "You're in court. You're in cage 23." So then you got to go find cage 23, and then you're going to go through, like, you know how you guys go through into a hotel and you go through, what are those things are, like, I forget what they're called, but you're
A
pushing,
turnstile.
through the glass doors. There you go. You're going to go through a turnstile that doesn't reverse. It only goes forward. So once you push yourself in, you ain't coming back out of there until they come and unlock the cage, open up the cage, and tell you to come out. So you push yourself into a turnstile, and now you're just in a cage with people that you may have been going to court with, or this is your first time. You're in there with people you have no idea who they are, and you're all headed to the same spot. Now, you're sitting in that thing waiting for everyone that's supposed to go to that court to fill up your cage. And a lot of these guys, they've been doing this for a while, so they're like, screw that, man. I ain't worried about it. I'm going to go hang out in my other homie's cage with my boys until they come find me. Because trust me, if you're going to court that day, they're going to find you unless you're hiding somewhere, unless you didn't even go down into the court cages and you're hiding somewhere in a cell upstairs. Because I had been in a cell one time where these kids from Rancho, this gang from Rancho, where they were like, looking, all 4 or 5 of them were living in there together. They would come home from court and they would just post up in the cell together and sleep in there. So there's like, it was a 6-man cell with like 6, 7, 8 of us in there because, their homies came over and they're sleeping in the bed with them because they're like, I don't want to go to the boy, so I'm going to kick it with you. So I say that because what would happen is when you come out for court, you could just go in the day room, turn around and then go hide in the cell, and then they can't find you. And then obviously court is postponed. But if you actually made it down the escalators and went into the pens where you're going to find the courtroom cell that you're supposed to be hanging out in until the bus shows up for you, that's where you'll be. And some of those guys will go and say, for instance, their kids from Long Beach are going to court in Compton, but they're from Long Beach, so they're like, I'm not going to go hang out. So they can find me later. I'm going to go hang out with my homies in the Long Beach cage because, those were my boys are at.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
So you go through all that. So basically, what you're saying, like I said, these people, I don't want to say people. The guys that want to be with their homies have that luxury of either going finding their homies or going where they're supposed to be. Once they've gathered everybody up that's supposed to be going onto your bus to your court, that's down there in those holding cells, whether they have to go find them in cell 15 when they should have been in 21, or whatever the case may be. Once they've got all the guys from 21 on the bus, and the ones that decided he wasn't going to court, is hiding somewhere in the county on one of the floors. He went and hid out in a dorm or somewhere, and they're like, okay, well, this guy ain't here, screw it, we're not waiting for him. They take you to court. So now you're on a bus, and it's 7 in the morning. I want to say about 7 in the morning you're on the bus by 7. So you sat in those holding cells for about 2 or 3 hours, from not 2 hours, guys, let's say it, because you're down in the cages by 4:30, and by 7:30, okay, so you're longer than that. By 7 o'clock you're on a bus. Okay, 7:30 at the very latest. Now you're on a bus, and you're headed to whichever court you're going to in Los Angeles County. And like I said, it's a big county, and you guys can imagine there's Hollywood, there's Burbank, there's every city in Los Angeles has a court. Whether it's a superior court or a traffic court, I believe they all have courts. So you get to the court, and then they cuff you up, and they walk you into the courtroom. The bailiffs check you in, make sure you're here, and then they I guess they do their little thing where they let the people know that this guy's here for court, blah blah blah, so forth and so on. And then you sit in the cages at the courthouse until they call you for court. And then you get dressed and you go in. Well, if you're in trial, you get dressed. If you're not in trial, then you're wearing the blues that you came in. The jumpsuit, the blues, or it's not really a jumpsuit. It's it's a top and a bottom, and that's what you're wearing into court, and that's how that works. And then you go to court, and the court can be for a postponement. The court could be to hear a motion. The court could be to select a jury. The court could be a pretrial, or it could be any number of reasons why you're going to court, and it may take anywhere from 10 minutes. Or less than that, anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes, and then that was the only reason why you needed to come to court. Now you're back in the cages, waiting for everybody. Well, this is when I was there, waiting for everybody that needs to go to court that hasn't gone to court before noon. If you've gone to court by noon, then you can catch the noon bus back to the county jail. If you haven't, then you'll be sitting there until 5 o'clock, until that bus comes when court is over, and that bus will pick you up, and then you're back to the county jail. And then once you get back to the county jail, fortunately you don't have to go to those holding cells anymore if you have a house. Now, remember I told you that there are guys that come from other parts of other counties, other jails that are part of the Los Angeles County jail system, like Eastmax, Supermax. They're in other parts of LA County. Those guys will have to wait for that Supermax bus to come and pick them up. So they'll be back in the cages. But, for me, like I said, after, I had done that so many times, my attorney got me to stay right there on the 2000 floor in the county jail. I could go right back to my cell. So I'd walk back up to my cell, and, fortunately, the people that I had one guy that was, that was always there, and we would watch each other's stuff, and then various people would come and go. And so me and Bobby were always, one of us was there. We never went to court at the same time, so I'd watch his stuff, he'd watch my stuff, and sometimes it'd come back and there'd be new people in the cell, or the same people, or it'd be just Bobby, or there'd be nobody there, but my stuff would always be there. So, that's how that went. And that's tiresome. You're doing that every day for, because like I said, my court was like 26 days. Now, when I say 26 guys, I am counting the weekends. So I may not have went to court on those days. So there was, the 2 or 3 weekends in between all that. So it may not have been as long as I make it sound, but it was 26. It went on for 26 days. So you knock maybe 4 to 6 days off for the weekend, so 20 days, and that's with them. And that was just a trial. And then, like I said, then we had the 4 days of deliberation. So, but either way, that's how that works.
And do you feel that's designed to influence people, to possibly, plead out or take a deal that they know?
Absolutely not. No, that's just because there's just too many goddamn people in there going to court, and the system is just the way it is. You can't. Let's say, for instance, you need to be in court at 8:15. Now, you may not have to go into the court until 11 o'clock, but the court wants you there at 8:15. Okay, and you are somewhere in that county jail. The county is not going to come looking for you at, 7:30 to get you to court in 45 minutes. They have a system. We're going to herd you all down here, and you're going to wait until your bus shows up. And if those stragglers that we can't find, we're going to try to find them, because, like I said, there are stragglers that don't want to go to court. They're like, man, I'm not ready. I need to post.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
Your court isn't doing any more postponements. They're ready to pick jury, and you're like, I'm not ready. So you're going to go hide out as many times as you can until they finally snatch your little butt up and put you in a sheriff's vehicle and drive your little butt to court. You know what I mean? That's what they have to do with the guys that are trying to hide themselves. But no, it's not designed to break you. No, what's designed to break you, I think, and I don't even know if it's designed to break you, but this is what will break you. Sitting in there for years waiting for your court to be heard. Because they'll tell you right off the bat, hey, look, do you want a speedy trial? Which means like in 45 days. I think it's 45, 60 days. They have 45 or 60 days to take you to court. And your attorney, whether you have a paid attorney or a public defender, is going to tell you there's no way I'm going to be ready in 60 days. Well, if you didn't do it, if you're innocent, why wouldn't you be ready? Because you need to be able to put on a defense. You just don't walk in and say, I'm innocent. You prove it, because obviously if they've arrested you, they think they have enough to try you. So your attorney's going to want time. And so that drags and drags and drags. Now, courts, that happens to all kinds of people. But hello?
Yeah.
People with money bail themselves out. They're like, okay, well, I'm the P. Diddy's and all these other cats. They bail themselves out, and then they fight within 2 or 3 years from the streets. The Baldwins and Alec Baldwin, whatever the case may be. Those guys don't ever sit in jail. Now, I told you in an earlier podcast, I didn't have that luxury. My case was what they call special circumstances, meaning that they're not only saying that I committed 187, but they're saying I did it as for revenge for what Mrs. Porras and, her housekeeper obviously didn't have anything to do, but she was also 187 for what they, for me going to the youth authority as a child. So that means you're not going to have any bail. There's no bail for you. You have a special circumstances case. It carries a capital. It carries capital punishment if the DA chooses to seek it, and so there is no bail. So I had no choice, because I certainly would have bailed out. You know what I mean? There's no way I was going to sit in the jail for years. But I knew this before I ever got arrested, that there was no bail, that I wasn't going to be able to be bailed out, because it's a special circumstances case. So I knew once if I did get arrested for this crime, because this is what they had told my aunt and uncle initially, the investigators and so forth and so on, about it's a special circumstances case. If we ended up arresting him, we won't have any bail. So my mother had told me all about that, and then I was like, and I was just so livid. I was like, so you're telling me I'm going to sit in this jail for a year? Because that's how long I thought I was going to be. I told all my coworkers, man, I got to go sit in the county jail for a year and go fight a case that I had nothing to do with. And they're like, well, you'll be back. And I'm like, yeah, but I got to go sit in the county jail for a year. You go sit in the county jail for a year. Well, that year, 20 years later, I'm still here. So clearly that was the least of my worries. But anyway, next.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Okay, so I know we're getting a little bit short on time right now. We got about a minute and a half before it gets cut off. So I think this will be a good point to cut it. Yeah, for it to end.
Was there any more comments or questions before we let go?
Nah, not right now. Not at this moment.
Okay, good. Then great. Then we covered all that then. All right. Well, that's awesome. I know you're headed out of town, so you take care, and we'll revisit this next week if we can get together.
All right, most definitely. Well, I want to go ahead and thank you, for your time, to you taking time out of your day and walking us through,
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
part of your journey.
Thank you as well.
And I want to go ahead and give a shout out to all of our listeners, whether you were on YouTube or TikTok.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah. If you want to hear the continuation of it, we'll catch you next week.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Derrick. And like I say around here, lights like a candle. Once you blow it out, it's lights out. And with that, we're out.
That's right. We're out.
Sorry.
What you?